Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be going over with you guys the Nerofest Grand Umu Fest Lotto Guide. Now this guide is going to be particularly pertaining to the actual Lotto features, not the challenge quests or anything like that. But first I really wanted to touch about the possibility of the date that you might see it. We already know that NA's anniversary is going to be on the 2nd as of the recording of this. Again, that should be when the panel is going to happen, and you'll probably see the actual true anniversary date start on the 3rd at midnight right afterwards. Now, again, we know already from in-game data mining and obviously people that have already completed 6.2 at this point that the actual true start date of 6.3 is going to be on the 10th, which is not how it was for JP. Again, that was a little bit different. The actual true start date for JP was somewhere around the 4th, only about 3 days into their anniversary. For us, that's looking to be roughly about a week into our anniversary. Now, the only reason that matters is because we pretty much know they're not going to run the Lotto during that time. However, you might see them shortchange us and only give us about a week for 6.3 to pan out. That would certainly be a concern if they wanted to do that, but I don't think they will, because basically about a week into 6.3 is where you get the Oberon banner, so that's why we're pretty much predicting that the Oberon banner is going to be on the 17th for NA. From there, I think it's reasonable to assume that you get the full 2-week duration for 6.3, and thus you're looking somewhere around the 24th or the 25th, the actual start of the Lotto if they go immediately at the end of that 2 weeks. There are other things to consider, like hunting quests that may happen before or after. It'll just remain to be seen as to when they do it, but we wanted to make sure that we gave you guys our best estimate as to when the Lotto would be coming for the purposes of this guide. And the other reason that we wanted to get this guide out is so that way you guys would have time to prepare adequately. That way it comes before anniversary with the GSSR, with the SSR ticket. That way you guys can potentially choose someone that might help you out if you need to. And again, it's also going to be a great time for half-cost embers and 3 times super success rate for leveling your units. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had enough time as possible to actually be able to prepare for the Lotto. Now, if you've never done an actual Lotto event on NA, this is a fest-style event. They're typically different from our Christmas-style events in the fact that normally how they work is they have 3 different rounds. The rounds tend to last for about 5 days each. This is going to be a 14-day event that only requires Fiyuki completion. But again, this is basically how it's going to roll, is each one of the 3 rounds will last for about the 5 days, and as you kind of go through, they will each have a new corresponding set of nodes. The upside to this, as opposed to, say, something like a Christmas style of event, is that means that immediately on day 1, you already have potentially 90 plus nodes to be able to help you out. So you can already farm at maximum efficiency as of day 1. Obviously, that's going to be a concern for you guys with regards to, do you have the craft essences? And this is going to be a weird event for that, as again, the craft essences in this actual event are craft essences that people that ran the original run of the event should already have. So if any of you guys is a veteran master that has Cheer for Master as a craft essence still, be glad that you held on to it, as this is your Lotto CE again. So for those of you guys that managed to have MLB, you guys are going to be swimming in the drops already on day 1. Now, again, I do think this craft essence in particular has some considerations. One is the fact that it is Buster, Arts, and Quick Performance by 6% at base. At MLB, it's going to be 8%. So it's going to impact all of your units, no matter who you utilize it on. The other beneficial aspect right here is going to be that you gain critical stars per turn. It's 3 at non-MLB and 4 at MLB. That's going to be really nice, as again, if you're walking through with a front line that all has them equipped, because you're doing 6-slot loadouts or something like that, you're going to be getting additional stars per turn regardless of the comp that may help you out with any sort of mop-up carding that you would need to do. The downside to this is it's not a star bomb, and it doesn't have something like charge. But hey, it's still not as bad as the Shisho Fest CE that had guts on it, where you weren't able to like actually Qigong people or get a rash to kill himself. So you don't have anything actually standing in your way of being able to farm, even though this doesn't have charge on it. The good news for NA, though, is because due to the timing of this Lotto, we pretty much know we'll have 6.3 ahead of that. That means you will have access to Koyenskaya and probably Oberon as well. These are both units that JP didn't have access for during this Lotto. In fact, I still remember having to do really janky stuff with Reigns and Castoria on some of the nodes just to be able to make it through. So being able to now have the new buster systems in play should actually help out quite a bit for people's capability of clearing the nodes. But certainly, again, this craft essence is going to have another thing to consider, and that's the fact that it is not all attack scaling. As far as craft essences go, this is not going to be your tried and true choice for one that you would level up. It's certainly okay to level up a craft essence to 100 in the middle of a Lotto if you feel like it'll actually push your comp over the edge. It can certainly help stretch the damage capability of a comp, but I think you'll find in most cases it's probably not going to be worth it in this one. However, again, if you do find yourself in such a situation, you can go ahead and level it to 100. And then what a lot of us veteran masters do is we just sort of carry these craft essences forward until the next Lotto. So if you need to level 100 another CE in another Lotto, you can essentially end up feeding your old level 100 CE from that Lotto to that one. Just make sure it's not a bad CE, something that you wouldn't already want at level 100 anyways. There have been a couple Lotto Cs that are really good for that, so again, it just depends. But I'm going to say this one is probably not one of those. So if you want to level it to 100 and then end up feeding it to another Lotto CE somewhere down the line, that wouldn't be the worst of outcomes. So you can consider it sort of a temporary investment if you're someone that's short on your actual craft essence experience to level up things up. Now, again, that's Cheer for Master. And like I said, for those of you guys that were around for the original one, you'll be lucky enough to still have it. Check your second archive. It may be there if you're unsure. But again, I think a lot of people are going to be concerned with how, the Lotto is actually going to be farmed and what you're going to be able to get out of it. So just taking a quick look right here at your first 10 boxes. Remember that you have to get through the original 10 boxes in order to be able to get to the 100 spin. So don't fret if you get there and you go like, oh wait, does this not have the 100 spin? It still will. The only issue is that simply you must get through the first 10 boxes. Again, you're going to have your damage craft essence right here that can be potentially utilized for your ability to clear through nodes. For those of you guys that maybe don't have as robust of accounts, or you maybe don't have all of the bells and whistles with regards to all of the supports that you might be needing to take, having something like the damage craft essence can actually be really useful to you, as again, it might allow you to have a lot of upward scalability in your damage output, depending on whatever unit you're using. So you might be able to do more with less by taking it. The obvious downside is by utilizing the damage C to clear a node, you're not going to have all of your Lotto drops. So that's something that you're going to have to consider as a trade-off is, do you value time? Do you value AP efficiency? What is your ultimate goal? How many boxes do you want to do? But again, I think most people are going to tell you that this Lotto should actually be a Lotto that is fairly capable to be 6-slotted. In fact, almost all of the comps that you're going to see here, in fact, I think them all that we have put together for you today are all 6-slot. And you guys are going to see, as again, it's not going to encompass every single possible comp out there, but it will certainly be some usable and easy ones in some cases. And I will talk about the general purpose sort of idea behind which node to do as we get in there. Now, again, you're also going to get the Olympian Gym uniform outfit unlock permit at box 6. This is an old costume. For those of you guys that may have purchased it from the Rare Prism shop, it will actually be refunded to you, so you don't have to worry about that too much here. If you get it, it's definitely a nice thing. And again, for boxes 7 through 10, you're going to get gold foes. From 11 onward, there is no more grand prize in the boxes, and some of the rewards go down. For instance, you will no longer get things like gold apples in every box. So as we go to the 11th box, and again, it's going to take 600 petals per box to open them. And you guys can see you're going to get just obviously a ton of skill gems for basically each one of the 7 base classes there. So it's really nice for those of you guys that are newer to the game and you don't have a lot of skill gems yet. Certainly, then, you're also going to get 4-star and 3-star embers. I've seen some people sort of gripe about this over time. Now that we have 5-star embers, what do you need 4-star embers for? I'm going to tell you flat out, for most of you, you can probably burn the silver embers. They're still really good for additional mana prisms. but the 4-star embers are still actually valuable, still very efficient in what they do, and you should probably be utilizing them to level up. I also have a guide if any of you are curious as to how to stack your mailbox. That's particularly useful at the back end of a lotto. I highly recommend you guys check that one out. And again, that is going to be instructions as to how to fit as many embers as possible into your mailbox and utilize it as a temporary storage. That is how some of us manage to save upwards of, again, 1,500 embers, and it ends up being a crazy thing down the stretch for being able to level up units in the long term until you get to the next lotto. So that's how some of us manage to, again, level 100 a unit right off the bat. Now, again, the only apple that you're going to get here out of the repeat boxes, out of the boxes 11 and onward, is going to be your bronze apples. That's not going to be super efficient for AP. I do see a lot of people that maybe go, hey, I'm going to open my boxes, get the bronze apples out, and use that to farm even more. You can do that. Just keep in mind that we will have a lot of potential farming opportunities in the latter half of the year, including the Gouda 5 rerun raids, hunting quests, again, another lotto in Christmas, even though it's a rather short one, as well as the Tunguska raids. So people are going to have potentially a lot of need for their apples coming up, so it's just up to you to determine which one of those you wish to farm at. And again, like I said, it may be useful to you to instead just hoard some for a later date. Now, again, you're going to get even more mana prisms from doing this. For, again, those of you who are fairly new to the game, mana prisms can often be hard to come by. This is going to be really great for you buying out your tickets and foes and stuff like that from the monthly shop. But this can also help build up towards you being able to eventually purchase some of those Da Vinci shop craft essences that can be really useful for your account. In particular, anything dealing with QP or bond tends to be one of the big priorities for a lot of masters. Now, from there, we actually managed to get 5 different Ascension materials. Back when this came out on JP, this was sort of the primary focus, is that the devs managed to say, hey, look, we understand we haven't had a lot of events due to Lost Belt 6. They basically knew they were adding the append system to the game, and they knew there was going to be a greater strain on resources, so they just kind of swooped in and said, we're going to be increasing event rewards from now on. And this was kind of the first real taste that we got of it, as it's our first lotto that actually has 5 drops in it. We did have some in the past that had 4 and then a ticket for a redemption on something else, but again, this is the first one that truly has 5. And obviously, some of you guys will probably need some of these materials, particularly night metals with a lot of the Lost Belt 6 units. And certainly, it's a long time since we've seen dust in a lotto here, so I highly recommend that you guys manage to obviously take advantage of this while it's here. JP did just recently have a lotto that actually regurgitated a lot of these same materials, and a big reason for that is because it had been so long since they had been in a lotto again. So this can be a particularly lucrative lotto for you guys to farm, not just because the boxes are good, but obviously because, again, you're going to have some people that start out with the actual lotto craft essence from the last run of it. Now, again, from here, you guys can see there will be additional QP that you guys can get. This is obviously going to be really nice of you for those of you that are maybe hard up on your QP at the current moment. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting on the lotto for various reasons, and so I'm sure you'll be happy to have it to be able to top off your QP stores. Just remember the cap on NA has been extended to 2 billion now, but don't roll your boxes out if you're at 2 billion without trying to find some way to spend your QP down. You can open boxes when you're at the cap, but it's just going to send the QP into the void. So it's better to find a use for it rather than sitting at cap and wasting it. Now, again, from there, you're going to get more FP, and we did talk about the fact that obviously Anniversary is a really good time to roll out your FP, but probably a better time is going to be the Gouda 5 rerun coming up after this lotto, as again, there will be both Nobukatsu on rate up, who's a low star. Most of you guys should have finished 6.3 at that point to have Habitrot available in the FP pool, and certainly you will have your sort of low star craft essences that can be craft essence bomb experience. So it's really good all around. And then if we're lucky due to the timing, we might get the same thing JP got, where they had a campaign that overlapped with the Gouda 5 rerun that allowed for 2x super success rate. I don't know if that'll happen to an A, but again, it's probably the best time to roll out your FP. That being said, with regards to the Khadroth consideration there, you might want to consider rolling out for copies of Khadroth before the Lotto if you can make it, because Khadroth could be useful to you on some of the Lotto nodes. In fact, one of the easiest comps in the Lotto utilizes her. So it just depends on whether or not you're prepared to actually do that. And again, I'm just trying to inform you of it ahead of time. So certainly the Lotto boxes here are going to be lucrative for a lot of players. Again, like I said, it's important to make sure you guys have enough to at least be able to last you until the next Lotto. So regardless of whatever your box goal is, try to find a box goal that you're comfortable hitting. Try to devote the time to it and try to make sure that you stick with it consistently so that you can actually, again, achieve your goals in your account. I think you guys will find that Lottos are the best time to advance your account all around due to the sheer amount of resources that you can gain the more you grind. This is the big time that everyone likes to use their apples for, and I do recommend this Lotto for that reason. Now, again here, just sort of talking about the Lotto in general, we have managed to produce a guide thanks to the hard work and effort from Avalon as well as Zinladalia. And again, obviously people that helped Avalon as well in that. So in this guide, we basically go through not only a node overview right here at the beginning so that you guys can kind of see each of the rounds with their 90 and 90 plus node. We primarily focused on that, not some of the lesser nodes, as again, if you guys are stepping down from even the 90, you're probably so new that you're just struggling at that point. And I'm going to say at that point, your goal should just be to get as many boxes done as you possibly can. But again, we do break down what is in each of the nodes to give you guys a sort of visual idea of what you're going up against, as well as the class, the wave there, and the HP value that each one has. And again, as you scroll down, you guys can see each one of the nodes for rounds 2 and round 3. Now, taking a look right here and just sort of talking about this first tab down here is going to be your round 190 node. Now, this brings up the question, when should you farm 90 versus 90 plus? To me, the answer to this has to do with how efficiently you can do the node. So to me, if you're going to do the 90 plus at 6 slot, that is pretty much the most efficient thing you can do. There's obviously going to be some considerations for how convoluted the comp is, how long it takes you to do, but I'm going to say most people probably don't consider time to be that big of an issue with a comp clear, as again, farming in a Lotto has a tendency to be more about a concerted effort and sticking with it over time. As long as you're consistent in doing it, it's going to be that steady pacing that's going to win you the day. Again, I see a lot of people that get super concerned over 1 second or 2 seconds on a clear time. It's really not that big of a deal because most of the time you end up setting your phone down, you end up talking to your significant other or some family member or a friend, and you get distracted. You end up watching something and you don't pay attention to it for a split second, or maybe you're trying to do it at work, which you probably shouldn't be, and your boss comes up and tries to see what you're doing and tells you to put your phone away. Either way, no matter what, people aren't perfectly efficient, so I'm going to tell you that in those moments, you pretty much lose out on a lot of the seconds that you would have otherwise gained. So this is why I said, it's more about finding a comp that you're comfortable with, that you can pull off, that you're able to do at sort of the maximum drop efficiency. Doing that, doing it potentially in 3 turns, that's really all that matters. Don't care too much about the timing of the comps. It really isn't a big deal. So again, with regards to 90 versus 90 plus, the big thing I can say is if you factor time out of there, then it's going to come down to your actual craft essence efficiency. So if you're able to run 6 slot, as we like to call it, again, this is going to be running all 6 Lotto drop craft essences. That is your peak efficiency. So being able to run the 90 plus at 6 slot is going to be your top dog. Being able to run 90 at 6 slot is, sorry, not 90 plus. Being able to run 90 at 6 slot is going to be next. And then being able to run 90 plus at 5 slot or 90 at 5 slot is going to then be beneath those. So this is where I'm going to say, again, you should prioritize whatever you can run at 6 slot. There is some consideration for the 90 plus versus the 90, in that the 90 plus has a tendency to have an ever so slightly higher craft essence drop rate. Some people prefer that. It tends to not be that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. There's also the consideration that you do get the shop materials from the 90 plus node as opposed to the 90. So that is to say, not only do you get Lotto drops for the petals basically to be able to spend on your boxes, but you'll also get the shop currencies to be able to clear the shop in the 90 plus node only, not in the 90. You can get the petals still in the 90, but not the shop currencies. So it does behoove you a little bit to farm the 90 plus at least some in order to make sure that you clear the shop without too much of an effort. But as long as you find one of the 3 rounds to do that in, you really don't need to try too hard. So I'm going to tell you again to come back and look at the node overview, look at each one of these rounds, and determine which one of the 90 plus nodes is a node that you can do relatively easily. From there, that needs to be the one that you focus on 90 plus and get it. And there's always going to be the consideration as to what each of the nodes do drop with regards to, again, their materials. So just quickly coming in here and looking at the preliminaries, we're going to go up to the champion node right here. So this is round 1. Round 1's 90 plus will drop your dragon reverse scales and magatamas. And remember, it's not going to drop every time, but hey, if you're farming the node repeatedly over and over again, you will see that you will get some drops from this and can help boost your supply. Then as you come back to the monarch node here, the 90 node, you're going to see that this one drops obviously something like scarabs and serpent jewels, which, you know, for some of you may be nice if you don't have them, but for others, especially some of the veteran players, you may be looking at the serpent jewels and going, oh my god, I have thousands of these, I don't need them. So it just depends. This is where I say sometimes people's consideration may be changed depending on what the node drops. So that's the preliminary round there. Again, real quick here, looking at the semifinals, this is going to be your round 2. The 90 plus will drop for you guys ice and mirrors. That's some pretty nice materials, especially as ice has really skyrocketed in its needs due to the append system. If you're someone that's not going to be indulging too much in the append system, then it might not be too much of a consideration for you. But hey, it is going to be really nice for those of you guys that are. Then looking at the 90 here, you guys are going to see that instead you end up with the Bacchus wine as well as the horseshoes. So again, you guys can see it's mostly the 90 nodes will have older materials. The 90 plus has some of the harder to get newer gold materials a lot of the times. So it really just boils down to what you actually find yourself needing on your account. And then for the finals here, as you guys can see, your 90 plus node will have the 5.5 hearts as well as the Aurora Steel. Then from there, the 90 node will end up having, again, your Demon Hearts and your Pages, which Pages are actually in the Lotto boxes. So again, up to you, but some of you guys might really want those actual Demon Hearts there. So again, like I said, it just depends on what you actually need as for considerations with regards to Ascension materials as to which one you would farm. But like I said, it's also going to come down to which node can you actually do. Is your account actually prepared for this? Do you have the right units to clear? So starting off right here with the round 190 comp, you guys can see some of your easiest comps here are just going to be arts comps. And that's because they have a tendency to be able to function a lot better from a, you know, sort of zero charge standpoint. Remember too, things like appends can come into play here, but for a unit like, say, Melt Lancer here, we don't need it too much. Melt Lancer's refund over here is pretty stellar, as you guys can see on the right side. Again, we do denote all of the NP refund numbers. You guys can also see that we denote the average damage. If it's in the green, that means it's good. If it's in the yellow, that means there's some concern. And if it's in the red, that means there's a major concern there. So just pay attention. So basically, you guys can see here that pretty much everything other than turn 3 here is going to be perfectly fine. At turn 3, though, you might leave at most 15k remaining, but with all of the Castoria steroids rolling around right there, as well as Tamamo, probably shouldn't be too big of a concern. However, this is an NP5 melt, so just bear that in mind. We tried to keep the, again, sort of Noble Phantasm level, costs down on you guys whenever we could. We tried to make it as free-to-play friendly as possible without, breaking the back of the people doing the calculations. So, again, your next one up here is going to be Space Ishtar at NP2. You guys could see not always is it going to utilize sort of your plug suit or standard mystic code. So there could be a lot that's done right here. And again, being able to utilize stuff like Fragment of 2004 here can really help you out. And again, you guys could often see there will be sometimes notes included for your consideration, things that you might want to watch out for. And again, we do actually put the turn order down here for those of you guys that are maybe not understanding exactly how the comp works. Do be careful. Sometimes the skills may need to be pressed in certain orders. That should be denoted in the notes. If you notice anything awry, make sure to contact Avalon on our Discord server. He'll be happy to make some changes for you guys on the fly. But again, like I said, most of this stuff should work here. And for instance, you can see with this Musashi comp here at NP2, right away, you can see there's a note here that, yeah, a bunch of different Mystic Codes will actually work. So feel free to play around with some of them. Something like the Summer 3 Mystic Code might work here. Or again, you never know, something like Plug Suit with a third support if that's what you feel like is really going to shore it up for you. Obviously, we try to put the NP levels at a safe value. You might be able to get away with less in some circumstances, but we don't really advise it. It's going to be something that on the majority of clears then is going to have potential issues, and you might end up into 4 turns. And so that's kind of why we talk about that. For instance, Eris right here. As you guys know, Eris has instant kills, so we definitely have notes regarding that. So make sure you guys pay attention, especially when we start looking at how much, remaining health can be there. But again, I'm not going to end up going through every single one of these comps with you guys. This is more of a PSA type / guide video here to make you aware of some of the possibilities for what you can do. Now, do remember as well with some of the 90+ nodes that you can end up in some weird circumstances. For instance, for the 90+ on round 1, it's actually pretty much a doozy, but you guys can potentially utilize different single target units, sometimes swapping them in and out, just depending on what's going on. But remember, your Lotto Craft Essence doesn't have starting charge on it, and the stars per turn will not appear until turn 2, so it's going to make carding on turn 1 sometimes difficult. Thankfully, we do have Oberon and Koyanskaya comps in here, and we do factor those stars in sometimes as to regards of how to do some of this. So just keep in mind that not every single variant of every single comp is going to be available here, and you may want to try experimenting, and that's a-okay. So for instance, right there, there's a spicy 5-unit Habitrot comp right there, but it will work, and it's very interesting as, again, you can make Habitrot basically kill herself and rotate the party. So there are some reasons to have Habitrot, and to especially have her mana loading maxed, as you might be able to start her without any sort of external help in getting to her NP, since she has an 80% charge. Again, having a unit like Arash is also going to be super useful. There are some units that, as you guys look through here, you might notice, hey, these are commonalities across a lot of the comps. Maybe I need to get them up and prepared. We also put the skill levels that are required. If there is an X in here, keep in mind that that just means that it's not required for the actual comp. Again, otherwise, we're going to tell you what skill level that we want you to have it at in order for it to match the calculations. I also recommend having your units FOD, sort of the standard operating procedure, trying to make sure that your units are up and online. But there are various ways that you guys can get through this, including having someone like Oberon handle partially the final wave in conjunction with another unit looping through. So there are some really, really interesting ones. And don't forget, we do have some carding options here. However, I want to make a brief note about this. While we do have carding options for round 1 and round 2's 90+, we don't really have them for round 3. There are some potential carding options for round 3, but due to the makeup of that node, it ends up being rather weird. As again, the round that you might want to card is probably going to be right here in the middle with a rather high health assassin. So yes, there are some ways you can get through this. The reason we didn't include it is because there's too much risk. if we were to put these comps in, we don't feel confident that you guys would be able to run it consistently without, again, potentially totally scuffing your comp. One of the things that I've told the people making these guides before is that you guys really need to watch out for, again, the potential for failure in a prior turn. So not on turn 3. If you fail to kill in turn 3, oh no, it's not the end of the world. You end up in a nice easy 4 turn, able to sort of quickly, easily mop it up and get back into another node. But if you mess up on turn 1 or turn 2, we end up with some really spicy setups there where maybe your buffs don't last until turn 3, and then maybe it ends up taking you not 4, not 5, but maybe like 7+ type turns in order to be able to kill. So that's why we don't end up suggesting those, as it's not just the potential for failure, it's how badly the failure could potentially affect you. So again, we try to offer you guys these sort of best comps here for being able to get through. But yes, this Lotto guide will be linked in the description. Again, you guys can also find it on the Discord, and I'm sure, again, the people that worked on this would be happy to help you, so make sure if you guys have any questions to direct it towards them. And I will make sure to see you guys for the next one. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Lotto guide. Also, I will see you Sunday for coverage of the anniversary stream, and again, potentially after that, my Koyenskaya as well as GSSR rolls. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a good one.